Ooh, hey yo, swing carry on. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another YouTube live stream with yours truly, Rama Screen, covering movies, TV, and entertainment. Okay, I am here to um, give you my live review of Pennyworth series. The first three episodes were released by EPIX. EPIX is the network that the show is on. And yeah, it was this past weekend, season premiere. And so I want to talk I want to talk a bit about it before I head out and face the day. One of which is I need to stand in line at the DMV for hours to renew my registration. That's gonna be so much fun. Jeez, freaking DMV. Okay, so I had my concerns at first about this show. I was like, really? Do we really want to know about Alfred Pennyworth when he was younger? Of all the prequels that you could do, why this one? It's like it's like a show about Jimmy Olsen when he was younger, studying in college for his photojournalism degree, whatever. I was like, do people really want to watch that? Do we really care to know how Jimmy Olsen was when he was younger? You know, Jimmy Olsen has always been associated with Superman, or in the case of the CW right now, a Supergirl. So his existence is has to be like, okay, if Superman or Supergirl is around, that's when Jimmy Olsen is interesting. Jimmy Olsen without Superman or Supergirl around, I don't know if it's interesting enough to follow. You know what I'm saying? So that's the concern I had about this show, Pennyworth. I was like, really? Do we really want to know how Alfred Pennyworth became Batman's butler? Um, the other concern that I have or worry is that the fact that this show is managed, created, and show run by the same guys. Excuse me, something's in my throat. By the same guys who gave us Gotham. Gotham series, as you know, is also or was also a prequel to Batman, and it focused on younger Bruce Wayne. Um, and I got to tell you, the first couple of seasons were intriguing, Gotham, but then it went downhill from there. And then, of course, it ended with like about a 10 episode final season this past spring. Um, those guys are Danny Cannon and Bruno Heller. Bruno Heller, writer, showrunner; Danny Cannon, director, executive producer of Gotham. So uh, I remember one of the things that one of the reasons Gotham frustrated really much, frustrated me really much. Sorry, I don't know what's in my throat here. Is that because it's on Fox and they ordered like freaking 23 episodes, just like any other regular show. That sometimes the writers under those two's leadership, that sometimes they hit a wall. They run out of ideas, but it's like, oh my god, we have these 23 episodes to fill. So one of the things they did was, um, they would have like this in Gotham. They would have like 5 episodes focusing on Riddler, and then the next 5 episodes focusing on Penguin, and then the next 5 episodes focusing on Poison Ivy, and then the next 5 episodes focusing on or the rest focus on um, Jeremiah, um, that show's version of the Joker. So I was like, I hate that format, and on top of the fact they had Poison Ivy become like from kid to adult to, and then they changed her again to this sexier version. I was like, really? While everybody else stays the same. Um, and it's not necessarily about Gotham per se. It's about Batman's Rogues Gallery. They should have just called that show Rogues Gallery. It would have been it would have been a more fitting title than Gotham. So I have a lot of issues with Gotham, and so the fact that those two guys, Bruno Heller and Danny Cannon, are the ones giving you or giving us Pennyworth. I was like, oh no, no, not another prequel from these guys. On top of the fact, again, as I mentioned, like, do we really care about Alfred Pennyworth when he was younger? So, and which leads us to now, having seen the first 3 episodes, I must say, wow, I I'm man enough to admit that I'm wrong, and I don't like being proven wrong from time to time because this show in particular is actually pretty bloody great. For many reasons. So I'm gonna break it down for you here. One of which is um, the lead actor, Jack Bannon. What a fantastic choice! I met Jack Bannon really briefly at Comic Con a few weeks ago. I did not get to interview him, unfortunately, but man, this guy's a dashing, handsome fella. And he's at that right age, to play this role. And I don't know if it's intentional or if it's something that Jack Bannon just kind of created for his character, um, this iconic character, Alfred Pennyworth. But he adopts Michael Caine's Cockney accent. I don't know if that's actually that. I don't know if that's Jack Bannon's actual accent. I know Jack Bannon's British, right? Is an actual British guy. Let me double check here. So, but as you know, Michael Caine has this really heavy kind of, because England. When you go to England, you find that there are different dialects there. There are different. Um, yeah, it's not just like one English sounding kind of voice. There's different kinds of accents. Just like if you go to any country, any country would have different dialects and accents in each of their regions. Um, yeah, he was Jack Bannon, born in Norwich, England. So I don't know if that's his actual accent, but the one that you hear here on this show, it's like it's like the version of that Michael Caine gave us in the Dark Knight trilogy. Remember, Michael Caine says to Christian Bale, like, some men just want to watch the world burn. And over the years, people have kind of imitated or people have done impressions of Michael Caine. Steve Coogan, I think, did a fantastic Michael Caine impression. So in a way, Michael Caine's voice and accent has been kind of not made fun of, but has been parodied, I guess you could say. So um it starts out kind of funny hearing Jack Bannon talking like that for the first few minutes of this show. But then you get used to it, and you kind of feel like, wow, that's kind of cool too. It's as if Jack Bannon wants to say, hey, you know what? I want to pay tribute to the Alfred Pennyworth that Michael Caine portrayed, not the other versions. What's his name? Michael Goh, um, and all the other guys. Sean Pertwee in Gotham. He's like, you know what? I want to make it as if this leads, or this as if I, as Alfred Pennyworth, later on when I become older, that I would turn into the Michael Caine that you see in the Dark Knight movies. So in that respect, I think it's brilliant. It's so cool. It's so cool. Just watching and hearing Jack Bannon sounding like freaking Michael Caine. Now, as you know, a lot of Batman fans would know Alfred Pennyworth is not just a butler. He has a military past. So I guess in a way, it is kind of intriguing to explore that side of him. And the way that this show does it is is a pretty wise choice. That's the word I'm looking for. In that we see young Alfred Pennyworth and his fellow servicemen. I think during World War II, I believe, and we see their struggle in the war as they lose their friends left and right. Getting killed by the enemies, and how that affects um, Alfred and his friends who survived the war. And they right now they try to run this Pennyworth security business because they're all ex-military, and that's pretty much the skill that they have, right? To fight and fight back. Um, so yeah, that's the wise choice. That's the last time that was explored really really well on a series was The Punisher. Remember The Punisher with oh sorry, there's a little bug on my desk. The Punisher with John Bernthal as Frank Castle. The first season, I thought that was brilliantly done. How the characters, him and his fellow friends, um, deal with PTSD. The consequence of that, and some of the nightmares and the psychological effects that it has on them. So that's the route that Pennyworth series also goes with for Alfred and his friends. I like that they keep calling him Alfie. That's his nickname, which is awesome. I'm a big fan of Alfie movie. Again, the original one starred Michael Kane, not Michael McCain, Michael Kane, and the reboot starred Jude Law. So for those of us fans of that movie, it's like, oh, that's cool. It's very endearing. Jack Bannon again. Before I move on to the next bullet point, Jack Bannon also, I said to you, he's dashing, he's charming, and he captures Alfred Pennyworth's politeness, like like he would talk to an enemy, right? In this case, the enemy is played by crap. Sorry, I can't remember some of the names here. Um, I'm still trying to remember all the names of the actors in Pennyworth. Jason Fleming, yeah. Jason Fleming is actually a pretty famous one. So he plays Lord Harwood, the leader of the Raven Society. And so they have a confrontation. They have a conversation between the two of them. And even as Lord Harwood like kind of threatens Pennyworth, Alfred would say, "How do you do?" that would be most pleasant, sir. Something along that line. I was like, really, this guy is a threat. He's an enemy, and you're being absolutely polite to him. But that's just Alfred Pennyworth, and Jack Bannon plays that with such finesse, man. And yeah, with his tucks and with his mannerism, Jack Bannon just looks in complete grace, in complete class. The way he walks, the way he talks. What a guy. And I think I tweeted this that years from now, if uh, MGM and the producers, Broccoli, want to pick the next new James Bond, they should totally consider Jack Bannon. This guy's got it. This guy has what it takes to be a 007. Granted, 007 is not as polite as as Alfred Pennyworth, and I don't think James Bond has a Cockney accent. So, but Jack Bannon's an actor. I'm sure he can pull it off. But yeah, wow, this is it. This is the future James Bond right here. Um, Story wise, it's also fascinating. I think one of the reasons why I think this show might work is because it's a 10 episode format. This is not like this is not like Gotham on Fox where they had like freaking 23 episodes, and I mentioned to you, where the writers run out of ideas, so they have to come up with fillers to make sure those 323 yeah, spots are filled. So it's not like that. We just have 10 episodes, kind of like Netflix and Amazon here with EPIX. So with Pennyworth, you have a story arc, and there are some procedural episodes, but mostly those procedural episodes are about Pennyworth security, how they get hired. They're like freaking the A team, right? Somebody hires them to protect them, protect their daughter, be their bodyguard. So, but each of those episodes, just like episode 3, for example, with Alfred Pennyworth meeting Martha Kane, who, of course, as you know, eventually became Martha Wayne, married to Thomas Wayne. So in episode 3, Martha Kane hires Alfred Pennyworth to drive her to the secret mission regarding a scientist. And the purpose of that episode, to my impression, is to let Alfred know, hey, sometimes a job is more than just a job. Um, Alfred may not have a Alfred may not have a stake in whatever conflict that the job has within itself. You know, he's there just to, okay, if you hire me to bodyguard you, that's all I'm gonna do for you. That may be the case, but and he doesn't have a stake, or he doesn't really have an opinion, pro and contra about it. But it that job specifically shapes Pennyworth's viewpoints on certain issue, and specifically on that episode about um, the England as a country and their policy regarding homosexuality. Alfred Pennyworth grew up giving himself in the service for the country and the Queen. So, but he does realize, he's not a sheep. He's not dumb. He does realize that his country is not perfect, and one of which example is this policy. And so he he has to use his Alfred finesse, um, sometimes diplomatic skills as well. Doesn't necessarily have to always be kicking and punching. And so this episode 3 in particular, shapes that side of him, um, or at the very least, makes him improve that side of him even more. So, and his viewpoints about, hey, I may not have an opinion about this policy, um, but what I do know is that this scientist is a British guy, an Englishman, just like me, and therefore I need to, just like how we here in Americans, right? In America, I'm sorry, in America, we would defend our fellow citizens if like we see them getting, I don't know, cruel and unusual punishment, or searches. Like, what are you doing? You can't do that. He's an American citizen. He's got rights. So that's what I'm trying to say with regards to Pennyworth and his fellow British people. And so I like that. Even in the procedural episodes, which I'm sure we'll have more of that uh, in a company, or to accompany the story arc of the 10 episodes. Even in the procedural episodes, there will be something that happens that will shape Pennyworth's viewpoint as a person, as a British guy, and as this businessman who runs this security firm. So I like that. I like that. Another thing, also, I think the romance and the relationship that Jack Bannon has with his girlfriend Esme is nicely done. It's nicely written. It's not your cliche romance. It's it gets complicated. It's not smooth sailing. There's all these rocks and obstacles, either with regards to Alfred's parents, or Esme's parent, or even between Alfred and Esme, how they they don't necessarily always meet eye to eye when it comes to what their future should look like. You know, it's like, oh, I want this for you. I want that for you. You know, Alfred says that. But then Esme like, but what about this for us? What about that for us? You know, how can we make this happen if we don't? It's really great drama here. This is not your typical cliche lovey-dovey romance, and I like it. It's nicely written, definitely. But of course, you as the audience will always end up rooting for them. Always end up like, come on, make it work. You guys are good together. It's not like they're incompatible or anything. They just they're just like real couple. The way that they're written, and it's awesome. Let's talk a bit about the villains. The villains here are the Raven Society. The Raven Society is like an equivalence to the Court of Owls. Remember the Court of Owls in Batman mythology? They are the secret society that kind of runs the city, highty-toity societal club. But they also have muscle men who do dirty work for them. So that's pretty much the Raven Society. And some of the leading villains in this one, at least in season one, is Jason Fleming, who plays Lord Harwood. And the other one is Paloma Faith, who plays Beth Skies. Beth Sykes. And then, of course, Polly Walker shows up too. Polly Walker, I love Polly Walker. I was a huge fan of HBO show Rome. Remember Rome? This is like 2002, I think 2003. It only lasted for 2 seasons, and Polly Walker was so great in that one. Oh my god. Um, she's gotten older now, and she's still as hot as ever, of course. Polly Walker in Rome was freaking hot, but she's gotten a bit older now, and she plays this dominatrix in Pennyworth. Oh man, uh, you know how like men would be like submissive to her and like, all right, you can whip me, like, yes, my mistress, whatever. That's her in this one. It's fantastic. And Paloma Faith, Beth Sykes, she's like Bond villain's henchman, but Beth Sykes herself also has a henchman, this tall dude that looks like a cross between Odd Job and Jaw. Yeah, that's his name, right? Jaw. The guy who he passed away now. The guy with the teeth that fought Roger Moore a couple of times. And Odd Job is the Bond villain henchman that with the Asian guy with the big Asian guy with a hat, and he throws his hat, and the hat would like cut a statue open. So Beth Sykes has a henchman who looks like a cross between Jaws and Odd Job. It's just fascinating. And so yeah, this Raven Society, he's gonna give definitely Pennyworth a hard time, but he only encountered them the first episode. So we'll see how he will encounter them again in the subsequent episodes, because episode 2 and 3, it's kind of separate. Raven Society is being interrogated by the Prime Minister and tortured by the Prime Minister, and Pennyworth has his own problem trying to get his business starting. So of course, those paths will cross again eventually, but we'll see how that plays out. So I like it. I like this whole concept of Raven Society, and they are one of those, just like Court of Owls. They think that Court of Owls think that Gotham is in trouble, so we need to rebuild Gotham from ashes again. We need to destroy Gotham and start over. That's the same thing with Raven Society. So in a sense, the purpose of Raven Society is pretty much generic. Nothing new here. The idea of like, oh, England, we'll destroy and we'll build them up again. And Lord Harwood, in his confrontation with Alfred Pennyworth in the pilot episodes, in the pilot episode, Lord Harwood said to Alfred, like, we will eliminate England's corruption and England's deviance. And we will like destroy England's like the dark side, whatever. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And as he's saying that, I'm like, really? Now you're just projecting. That's projection right there. Because you, as a Raven society, you use corruption. You buy off cops. You buy off people. You know, you buy their loyalty. You yourself do shady dark side shit. So it's like it's your textbook secret society villains, just like Court of Owls. Like they think like they're doing the city of Gotham good by getting, they think like, oh, we're getting rid of the bad. That's how we're doing good. But you're doing that by doing bad. So you're just projecting. A projection is a form of hypocrisy, if you don't know. So yeah, very generic, but still cool. You gotta have a villain, so why not have a group of villains? Um, because in this case, Alfred Pennyworth is the lead star. There's no Batman here. There's no Bruce Wayne. So Alfred Pennyworth has to be the Batman of the story, the Bruce Wayne of the story, and so that Bruno Heller and Danny Cannon, having done Gotham, they're like, okay, let's do that for Pennyworth. Another thing that I like about this show is that because it's on EPIX, um, that they allow cursing and nudity. I love that. I love that. Oh my god, it's so cool. You know, and and Britain or England, it's filled with so many lingos and so many interesting phrases like, I don't know, sawed off. What did you tell them to sawed off? Or like smashing, like, oh, that's smashing. top top means kill. I just learned that. You know, I one of the characters says, if I don't get this right, I would top myself. It's me. He meant I would kill myself. That's what he's saying there. I was like, so I'm learning these new British catchphrases and lingos, and it really really helps if you watch Pennyworth with subtitles on. Especially for us for especially for us American audiences, especially for me, an immigrant living in America. So with English being my second language, you really need to watch Pennyworth with the caption on, because you can catch all these excellent phrases that just like so entertaining, man. Um, and of course they say f words and s words, and it's appropriate the way that the f words are done here, especially with regards to Alfred's friends who are still battling PTSD and trauma from the war. One of them is this Scottish guy named Dave Boy, and he gets drunk, and at one point he is also a loose cannon. Like they have this a security job, and Dave Boy just shoots this guy in the head, and we get to see that graphically because it's EPIX, not freaking Fox. So it's appropriate the way the efforts are done, the way the violence is done, the way the nudity is done. It's not done in just for the sake of violence, nudity, just for the sake of curse words. It's not done gratuitously. You know what I'm saying? It's done with a purpose. It's done with a way that speaks about the characters. So I like it. I like it. Now the downside of that all is that it's on EPIX. I I don't know how many eyeballs watch EPIX out there. EPIX has a pretty interesting lineup, but none of them so far have caused a big buzz at the Emmys or a big buzz at the award season or a big buzz in general. Just big buzz as in like Breaking Bad level or Game of Thrones level or even yeah, or even Orange is the New Black level. So all the other shows that Epix has given us so far, they're just either okay, or you hear the marketing, the promotion for it leading up to the show, but then when the show arrives, that's the end, that you never hear from it ever again, even though the show still airs. So it's a gamble, I think, for Gotham creators Bruno Heller and Danny Cannon to have Pennyworth on EPIX. Um, we'll see how the numbers are by the end of the season, if EPIX is gonna renew it for a second one. So it's a gamble. Um, it's already a gamble as it is to give you the idea. Oh, are people are gonna be interested in watching younger Alfred Pennyworth? So, and then on top of that, it's on this network that it's not Showtime, it's not HBO. I don't. So here's the thing: Epix released the first three episodes, hoping that okay, all right, guys, we're dropping the first three episodes of Pennyworth. So you're gonna subscribe to Epic, right? 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 Come on, we dropped the first three episodes. You guys want to watch them, right? So subscribe to Epix now. Just like you subscribe to Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu, subscribe to us. I don't know if that is a I don't know if that's a powerful attraction enough. You know? If it's something if Epix has Game of Thrones prequel. Game of Thrones is a brand name. Obviously HBO has Game of Thrones prequel, but if okay, in an alternate universe, if Epix is the one that releases Game of Thrones prequel, hell yeah, people will be like subscribing to Epix like crazy. But Pennyworth, not to belittle the actors and the cast and crew involved with the show, but is it a strong enough brand name for people to flock to Epix? I don't know. That's one of the things that I feel worried about the show about. So I was like, really, Epix, this is the weapon that you're going with. I do like the episodes that I watched though, the first three episodes. Um, but I may be the only one doing reviews of it, just like I'm the only one doing reviews of Cinemax series Jet, starring Carla Gugino. But apparently, that one doesn't um, capture a lot of attention out there, unfortunately, even though it's a good show. So I feel really bad, but I think people are missing out because this is such a fantastic, fantastic new series. The way it's written, the way it's acted by the performers, the production design reminds me of Mad Men because the story is set in the 50s, post-war. You see Thomas Wayne before he met Martha Kane is a fantastic concept. Um, my theory is that somewhere along the line in the near future, Alfred's girlfriend Esme would get killed somehow. Either she became a collateral damage, or she gets shot in the crosshairs, whatever. And because Alfred ends up being a butler to Bruce Wayne ever since Bruce Wayne was a kid, right? So, and Alfred has always been, from that point on, has been by himself, not married. So there's got to be something there that happened to this girlfriend or this love of his life, Esme. Um, and I'm betting I'm betting it's gonna be a tragedy that involves her death somehow. So just on that theory alone, I want to see if it really happens. So it's a fantastic new show. The way it's done is fabulous. Um, I love the whole Bond feel to the whole thing. Not only with Jack Bannon looking like a James Bond, but also the Bond villain henchman that the Raven Society has. Of course, there are no gadgets here, though. So, but still, it's so cool. It's such a great period piece. Even when Queen Elizabeth II shows up. So, I hope people would give Pennyworth a chance, but I don't know if they would. It's not like Epics will. Maybe Epics will. Maybe Epics will reveal to people like, oh, these are the ratings or these are the numbers that Pennyworth's first three episodes got when we released the episodes this past weekend. This is what the show received, the ratings. Um, maybe they will release that information, or maybe they won't. Um, if they don't, that could be pretty bad sign for Pennyworth. That means people are not watching it, unfortunately. If Pennyworth is on HBO or Showtime or even like Cinemax, I think it would have a stronger chance of surviving. Um, but yeah, if you had the chance to watch it, please go check it out. It's so cool. It's so cool. It's it's kind of like Gotham in certain ways, but in a lot of ways it's not like Gotham, which is a good thing. All right. So and also the villains it's not Batman Rogues Gallery villains, you know. Um they have a different version of Jack the Ripper in episode 2, which is fascinating because the real Jack the Ripper is from the 1800s Victorian era, but there's this guy who's like the Ripper guy who's a very dangerous head of mobster. And then in episode 3, it has a version of Alan Turing. Remember Alan Turing, the mathematician and computer genius who cracked the codes in the World War II, and he also happened to be a homosexual. And unfortunately, England has this policy against that kind of deal, or sodomy back in the day. So episode 3 presents its own version of Alan Turing's struggle. Um, and it's fascinating. It's so cool. I can't wait to watch what other versions of other well-known characters in the England's history that this show will present in the subsequent episodes. But it's a great concept, the way they do these characters, including Alan Turing. So again, give the show a chance. Check it out. It's on EPIX. It's a bloody good show. It's a bloody good show. All right, that's all I could say to conclude this review before it getting any longer than necessary. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am now gonna be heading out to the DMV. Wish me luck, because DMV sucks big balls. Oh man, the long lines. I hate it. I hate it. I hate DMV. But I gotta do it. I gotta renew my registration. So I'll be back later with either more videos or more blogging at ramascreen.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Press that like button. Ring that bell. And if you can help support me, please do so at patreon.com/ramascreen. Let's rock this.